This is television for the Isles of Scilly, brought to you with Worldwide Financial Planning, Truro and Penwith College, and the Scilly Lottery. From Radio Scilly, this is scillytv.com.
I'm joined today with various people from other parts of English heritage for the launch of the Defending Scilly book. I think most of you will probably know and appreciate that Scilly is particularly rich with its scheduled monuments. It has 238 of them. It's the highest concentration anywhere in England of scheduled monuments. That's impressive, and it leads to the sense of place. It helps with the quality of life, and obviously it's a factor in the tourism industry of the islands. It's particularly remarkable. I think it goes from prehistoric burials right the way up to some of the structures that Alan's identified of more recent significance. I should probably just say a bit about English heritage and our role in Scilly. We have a number of roles, if you like. One is in the advice side, which is where I fit in. We advise on nationally important monuments, we advise on listed buildings on the islands. We also have helped fund a post on Scilly to help with the more locally important heritage assets in the past few years, and we have input with other agencies into work such as the Shoreline Management Plan, which is obviously important in terms of dealing with coastal erosion issues. We also, as you know, have 11 monuments and sites which are in our care and management, which centre around the garrison here. We have a conservation plan for the garrison, which Heather has asked me to mention specifically. Thank you, Heather. And that is obviously there to inform what happens to the management of the garrison in the future. As you know, we undertake stabilisation work at the King Charles Battery, and we're also monitoring other sites in the garrison in terms of coastal erosion. The book which we're launching is part of the Informed Conservation series, and that's been a very successful series. It's designed to be accessible, and they are very popular. This is, I think, about 20th, is it, Alan?
Must be in the 20s.
Must be 20 in the 20s that we're in terms of subject matter. And they're there really to try and help an understanding, and a wider understanding, if you like, of particular assets and their value. This volume, I suppose, came about to fill a gap in our knowledge and understanding of the military defences on Scilly, and was also, I think, designed to address the issues of coastal erosion and climate change and what that meant for historic assets. And I think that's particularly pertinent here, because of those 238 monuments, nearly half are in the intertidal zone or close to the coast, where they're subject to particular erosion. Climate change is really a particularly difficult issue for us, because it challenges our, if you like, our traditional approaches to managing historic assets. And it's likely to mean that we will have to make difficult decisions about what to do, what to retain, what not to retain in the future. And I think those decisions are best informed by an understanding of what's important, what's significant, and why. And I guess that's where this book, Defending Scilly, comes in to help our understanding, so that we can perhaps inform those difficult decisions in the future. But I don't think it's all just on the sort of the negative side. I think this book is really here because it helps you, and it helps our understanding of the value and what people enjoy about Scilly when they come here. And I think we're particularly pleased that we're able to do this as part of the walking tour programme that you have this week. So with that, I suppose, thank you all for coming again, and I'll hand over to Philip, who's going to say a few words.
The sea is an insatiable monster which devours these little islands, gorges itself with the earth, sand, clay, and all the yielding parts, and leaves nothing where it can reach but the skeleton of bared rock. The continual advances which the sea makes upon the lowlands at present are plain to all people of observation, and within these last 30 years have been very considerable. When was that written? Not the authors.
Yeah.
1756, William Boyes. I think we have one correct answer.
She should know.
Doesn't that really sum up the predicament? We've got such a concentration of precious heritage, and it's so much at risk. If nothing else, the book records that precious heritage so that it won't be lost, even if the sea does keep encroaching. The knowledge and understanding will be there. I think Mark and Alan have done an absolutely fine job. The book is accessible, interesting, and actually beautiful. Lovely photographs, excellent words. Thank you.
We discovered today that the model cost £20,000 to do, and that's the same cost that all the fortifications the year around 1900, the two 6-inch gun batteries, the quick-fire guns, the defence electric, that whole system of stuff on the garrison cost £20,000 110 years ago. And I went recently to a conference of military historians, and they were amazed by how much Scilly had. I mean, they know that there are fortifications here, but this layer upon layer of fantastic sort of fortifications came as a real surprise to them, and a real joy, in fact. The other thing that you have picked up on is, of course, the issue of climate change, and we have tried to deal with that. And that's really where I came into the story, because a man who can't be with us today, but Martin Fletcher was the archaeologist who was working here, 2005-06, I think it was, just on the garrison walls. And he needed a brilliant architectural historian who knew everything about military history. But he got me instead, and I've had to learn it all from scratch, and I've been ably assisted by Mark in this. And that was the start of a very long process. And I've got my Hollywood sort of actor's speech here of all the people I have to thank. This could take a while. I want to start with English heritage people if I can, because it's all started with Martin and his excavation team. We have the brilliant photographs of Mike Roberts and the brilliant aerial photographs, of which you're only seeing a tiny selection. We've got over 1,000 modern photographs now taken of the military defences, and they're available in our collection. Mark did all the brilliant sort of survey drawings, which Deborah has sort of took through to publication. We've had work from our sort of the rectified photography and sort of photogrammetry team in York have assisted us. Our properties presentation people have worked with us, Paul Patterson. And Barry has sat and read all the drivel that I keep sort of pumping out. I need somebody to sort of filter and sort of work on my stuff. We had our regional colleagues like Phil and Simon and Heather sort of supporting us. And Jess here was given this sort of ragbag manuscript. Here you are, Jess. And she turned it into that fantastic book. So she deserves as much sort of accolade as it. So although Mark and my names are on the book, it was really a huge team effort and lots of people. You come to people on the Isles of Scilly, most of you are in this room. But I have to start with the what's the first mistake in the book? Catherine Sawyer's name is misspelled. Despite it having been checked, that was pointed out to me. Catherine had spotted it, but didn't tell me, but told Amanda, who then told me. So that's the first mistake in the book. I'm sure there'll be a few others, but they're all that minor. We were made very welcome here by all the people on the islands. I mean, Chris Gregory can't be here. He sent a text message to say he was stuck in Penzance. Craig can't be here as well, I believe. I think he's trapped somewhere, but he let poor Eleanor and sort of Trevor run behind us, handing us bits of kit and cameras and things like that, and assisting us with sort of practical and emotional assistance. David's done a great job getting those cattle to keep clear all our nice archaeological sites. We're very pleased with that, and there's still a few more we want doing, so we'll be coming with our shopping list. Richard, who can't be here, stuck in Penzance, of course. He supplies brilliant research on the Civil War. And Amanda has put up with about an email a day. Oh, I've forgotten this thing. Can you check that? And this sort of stuff, and has run round behind us. It's been absolutely brilliant. I'd like to thank my wife, my children, who keep saying, how do you manage to get away with these lovely holidays? Because before this I did Seaside for 5 years. 5 years at the Seaside, and then I came here. But before that I did 4 years in prison, so that was, I was writing a book. So, And last, and the most important person I'd like to thank is Mark, because he has put up with my lousy jokes, my terrible cooking, having to share bungalows galore in Scilly, and he's taught me a hell of a lot about archaeological surveying, most of which I now intend to forget, I hasten to add. But I'd like to thank Mark, and thank you all for all your help.